I sit here in front of the cool hanged man flag that my wife bought me. And of course, it's based on the hanged man of the tarot deck. The hanged man. In Odinism, Odin hung on a tree. He gave one eye, ending up with one eye, to gain insight and wisdom and enlightenment. Christ is said to have been crucified on a hill, hung upon a tree, on a hill called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. And as mystics taught, Golgotha, the skull, it represents the tomb of the mind. In dying, that you might rise again or be born again. Born of the flesh and then born of the spirit. Some people wonder why mysticism and the occult and esoteric schools use so many skulls to represent the way they think. All of life takes place ultimately in the mind. Consciousness. The Kabbalion says that the whole universe is nothing but one giant mind of consciousness, of information, of imagination, thought, and awareness of that thought. Consciousness, consciously aware of thought. And that this seeming physical, seeming objective, seeming material world, so-called real world, is actually the product of mind, of consciousness. And that all of material matter is made up of, as we all know, molecules made of atoms and then subatomic or subatom particles. And quantum physics, nuclear physics, is demonstrating over and over since the late part of the 19th century, early part of the 20th century, the double slit experiment, which has been repeatedly done by nuclear physicists, quantum physicists, and they all keep coming up with the exact same results. That consciousness can determine, awareness can determine what those particles do as they go through the slits. You can, of course, Google that or YouTube it, and there's plenty of cool animations and explanations, and there's even technical explanations of the double slit experiment by nuclear physicists. But the point that I want to make in this video is that all of reality is only consciousness, and it's all in your head. Literally, it's all in your head. Now, I have two books here, two very thick and heavy books. Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland, who is a Russian physicist, researcher, and writer. Thomas Campbell's My Big Toe, which is my theory of everything, toe, theory of everything, who's also a nuclear physicist, quantum scientist, whatever. I've read these books. This book here was a gift for me, and you can get the audio version of this free on YouTube, of Reality Transurfing. And look under here, under the descriptions, for links that I will provide. Thomas Campbell's all over YouTube, being interviewed, and he has his own channel, things like that. This is a 3-part book, and I have the trilogy. This is the trilogy. So these are both very thick, heavy books. I mean, you can knock somebody out with one of these, okay? But they're really, really good books to read. I mark up my books and dog-ear my books and write notes. I've always done that all my life. And these books explain to you something that the occult and mystery religions have been trying to explain for centuries, if not millennia. The old esoteric mystical systems, the mystery religions. These systems are trying to all point to one thing, that there is only one mind. There's only one consciousness. This is what the Kybalion says. And yet, this is what scientists, the Kybalion being an occult mystic book, but yet the scientists are realizing this. Let me explain. Tom Campbell was a man who, as he was going through his schooling to be a physicist, met up with a man in Virginia named Robert or Bob Monroe, and he had the Monroe Institute. You can find some of his stuff on the internet. You can find interviews of him on YouTube. You may have heard of HemiSync, which is a form of audio recording that helps you put on headphones or whatever, and you can meditate to it or rest or relax to it. Well, Mr. Campbell, Thomas Campbell, worked with Bob, and he found out real quick that he could go out of body at will. And so he had numerous documented cases where he and another fellow would go out of body, and Bob would document this, and they would go out of body and go to buildings and places all around town or wherever, and they could tell you what was in a building or whatever. They did these tests over and over. Russians have done this, which, by the way, Vadim Zeland is a Russian, and he's wrote Reality Transurfing. Again, you can just get the whole audio book on YouTube for free. But you can buy both of these books, and I highly recommend them if you're into reading books and you're interested in the nature of reality. There is another physicist. He's an Italian-American, and his name is Federico Fagan, and I'll try to put a link to a video or something with him as well under here, just check the description. He is also a physicist, an engineer, an inventor. He was he worked on computers and microprocessing and things like that. He had an experience where a beam of light, you can find videos of him talking about this, a beam of light shooting out of his chest. And he said it was a physical, literal experience. And he felt this incredible love and peace. These are three physicists who, I know Tom Campbell did, they started out basically as agnostic or atheists, who came to believe in a God, all right, a God mind. As I like to say, we all live in the brain of God, for that matter. There's nothing but consciousness, as the Kybalion says, as Tom Campbell says, as Vadim Zeland says, as Federico Fagan, these three scientists. And there's many, many more. Vadim Zeland is studies quantum physics and studied quantum physics, works in that area, works in computers and computer technology, as well as Fagan. So, these are three scientists, that quantum physicists, who are proving that as we look into what makes up matter at the quantum level, we're finding all of our rules of natural physics here in this reality fall apart. And they find that it's all based on consciousness. And you can go in the door of quantum physics and you come out into a whole nother understanding of reality. That everything that is held together is by thought. As the mystics would teach, we are basically God or gods having a lucid dream. Neville Goddard, the mystic, said that he had a vision of God sitting in lotus position. He was a Christian mystic. That God sitting in lotus position meditating, and as he meditated, he shattered into millions of pieces. And those millions of pieces are us. Billions of pieces, we humans. Shattered to have different experiences. We are experiencer nodes, as I've explained in other videos and things like that and talks with people. We are experiencer nodes. We are all rays of the one sun. So it goes back to the one. Manly P. Hall, the researcher and writer and lecturer about mystic religions, talked about that the purpose of life is for man to awaken here in this life that he is God. Because when we all die, we find out we're more than just this human self, and we all have out-of-body experiences. You've heard of near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, like I talked about. Tom Campbell has charted many, many of them, documented many of them under laboratory settings. And Manly P. Hall explained that the mystery religions were all teaching ultimately one truth, that we are God, and the goal is for man to awaken in this life as this God, to awaken that he is eternal consciousness, and he's not the character that he's playing. I'm playing Ryan, you're playing John or Jane, or whoever you are, but that's not the true you. Your human mind is your virtual reality headset. You're a spirit, you're a consciousness, a node of the one consciousness, that comes into this video game, this Sims Human Earth video game, and your headset is your human brain. So your human brain cannot, as I did a video with Slim, the skeleton in the back seat, that is you. That is your human self. And you get to experience this world. Food, comforts, displeasure, all the different emotions, sex, satisfaction, creativity, invention, frustration, anger, hate, love. You get to experience all of that through your virtual reality headset. But at the same time, to come awake, you must set that brain. This is not about ego death. That's a bunch of bullshit. Your ego is your virtual reality headset. Why would you take it off and throw it on the ground and smash it and hate it? It is the character that you're playing right now. Whatever your name is, whoever you are, wherever in the world you are. That's a character. It's like playing a video game, a Sims video game, or a video game. I don't know, Grand Theft Auto. I don't play video games, but I get the concept. I have grown adult kids that still love to play video games, and they're very good at them. Those characters that you have, you don't hate those characters. You're playing a character, but you get to control the character. There's no predestination. There's no preset destiny that you have to fulfill. There is a highest destiny, highest dharma, and if that's what you choose, then you must become the hanged man. You must come to where you suspend your brain trying to figure things out and fight it out in your head and all of these things and argue in your head. How many of us argue in our heads with people, our bosses, coworkers, family members, while we're taking showers, right? How many of us do that? When we stop doing that, we suspend that and relax and allow things to come to us. They'll allow that flow. Well, that's what these scientists, including Federico Falcon, that's what they do. They have discovered that reality is not objective, it is subjective. And they write these thick books to explain quantum physics and the very nature of reality from a 3D scientific carnal-minded point of view. But in the end, it's like Neville Goddard, the mystic, taught. In the end, it's up to you to test and see if it's true or not. You are not your thoughts. You are not the thinker. What you are is a receiver. And this whole universe, as Tom Campbell explains, is just information. And you can choose a whole different way of thinking about something. I'll give you an example. You have a health issue. You can start thinking, you know what, I'm going to start thinking I'm healthy, and I don't have a health issue, and I'm healthy. You still go to the doctor, you still do all those things, or do whatever you got to do, but it's never to force anything. You're already there in your mind. You're already a healthy person. People have used this sort of stuff. In ancient times, man thought it was magic, or thought it was gods or spirits. We began to find out it's all just consciousness. We live inside of a giant computer, as Tom Campbell likes to explain it. Vadim Zeland explains it as flows of rivers of frequencies. There's pendulums. You can get caught up in political pendulums, religious pendulums, all kinds. Your family, your workplace can have pendulums, and you can get caught in that emotion. It's like a sports team, a sports fan that gets caught up in the emotions of their sports team along with their other fellow fans of that team, right? You get caught up in these. Well, these pendulums or these states contain their own thought patterns and thoughts that come, the good and the bad thoughts. Another case, you can have financial issues, and you want to say, you know, I'm financially well off, or I'm comfortable, or I have a better income, or whatever it is that you decide. You choose, and you have the intent of. You no longer try to figure it all out. You just be in that state. You choose that river to go down the boat with. That you choose that lane to go down the highway. And you allow the thoughts from your previous state to just play out. They're going to come, and you're aware, because you are nothing but conscious awareness. You are nothing else but eternal conscious awareness. That's it. You are nothing else. You're not your human body. These are characters that you're playing. Don't hate your character. A lot of people try to teach, oh, you have to have ego death. You have to burn out your karma. That's a misunderstanding of the very word karma from the Sanskrit, from Hinduism. That's not what karma means. Karma simply means momentum. And momentum simply means a momentum in a thought pattern. Now, pendulums, collective pendulums, contain a lot of momentum. They're very swift water, and they'll take you right down the river. Okay? But other thoughts can be more gentle. And you can choose what stream that you get in, what river you get in, what lane you go in a highway. You choose that. As awareness, you're the single eye. You are the one eye. Everyone talks about the all-seeing eye, and they talk about the Illuminati and all this crap. I used to believe that stupid shit too, till I came to understand the occult. It's no longer hidden to me. Esotericism and mysticism is no longer esoteric or mystical to me, because not only have I read books, whether it's written by scientists or mystical occult type books or anything like that, it's because I've actually began to practice this, and I began to understand life is magical. Life is awesome. This human life, yes, you're going to have both ends of the spectrum. You're going to have the good and the bad. Let's say you want a dog. So when you get the dog, you got to puppy train it. You got to potty train it. You've got to, it's going to chew up things. It's going to, use the bathroom in your house sometimes. It's going to bark when you don't want it to, and things like that. And then when it gets older, you have to take care of it. Maybe you have to have its claws clipped, or, some sort of medical procedure done on it. Whatever you have to do, right? You have to feed the dog, make sure it's fed and taken care of. And if you go off on a vacation, you can't take your dog with you, or your cat, or whatever pet you have, a cockatoo, I don't care, a goldfish. There's a responsibility. It's the same thing with a child. It's not all just great and wonderful. There's times you have to get up in the middle of the night, change a child's diaper. Or, as a child gets older, you have to deal with it when it goes to school, or the things that it does, and sometimes it gets in trouble. You want a great car, but sometimes those cars, they need maintenance, right? So there's all ends of the spectrum is what I'm getting at. And the Kybalion is very good at teaching this, is that there's all ends of the spectrum. What really helped me awaken more than anything, besides listening to Neville Goddard and folks like that off of YouTube, recordings of them, they're passed away, but was when I actually just read this book. And it says in this book that this book will come to you when you are ready for it. And I have bought copies of this book for people and given it, because it's not that expensive, and I give it to people, and they would start to read it, and they don't understand it. It's not time for them. There was a time when I had a copy of the Kybalion, not this particular one. It was a softback copy, my first copy I ever bought. And I never actually read it for a long time. I wasn't ready for it and didn't know it. But the time when I was ready to read this, my life began to take a wonderful turn. Because you begin to understand everything is mental. Everything is consciousness. Now, this is just a show and tell of these two books. It's not a book review. I've loaned this book out a couple of times. I really don't like to loan my books out, but I highly, strongly suggest people look into these things. At least videos, at least start to taste the water a little bit, stick your toe in a little bit, and look into videos from these physicists like Tom Campbell, reality transurfing videos, Federico Fagan, the Italian physicist, and look into these guys. They're beginning to explain to you that reality is subjective and not objective. And if the doctor gives, this has happened many times to folks, and you can find YouTube videos of it all over the place, is people were on stage 4 cancer, but they just changed what they were going to think about. And they let the thoughts of fear of death or illness or whatever just go, and they just started imagining and just thinking and just living from the state, the consciousness. They changed streams, they changed lane gently, but with intent, that they were healthy, and the stage 4 cancers would go away. People that were in bankruptcy and, homeless or whatever, things get better, things like that, because you change your mind. You change your mind, you change your reality. And science is proving this, and people are proving this in their own lives. Now, on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of people talking about the law of attraction and coming from different points of view: heathenism, Odinism, paganism, Wicca, and all these type of things. But Christianity, Islam, different religions, New Ageism, all types of stuff. But it comes down to, you can throw all the isms away, and it simply comes down to consciousness, where you put your consciousness. Now, I, of course, am an ex-Christian, but I now see like Christ, but I also see Lucifer, Satan. These are biblical characters, and I see them for the characters that they are. Just like when you look at Ra, Isis, Osiris, Thoth, all these Egyptian gods, the Babylonian gods, Sumerian gods, any form of religious systems, Greek, Roman, whatever. It can be American Indian, it can be Asian. These are all archetypes of these different characters, are states of mind. Okay? And so I began to understand you can use these states of mind to concentrate a certain way. Okay, there was, for your intent, there was Rudolf Steiner. I mentioned him in videos. He was a mystic in the late 19th and early 20th century, late 1800s, early 1900s. And he talked about like Lucifer in the Bible. His version of Lucifer was more like, you've heard of Madame Blavatsky, you've heard of Aleister Crowley, you've heard of Albert Pike. These people have spoke about Lucifer and Satan and things like that. Well, Rudolf Steiner seen Lucifer as an extreme end of the spectrum of enlightenment, like woo-woo, I mean, almost too much, right? And then you have Satan, and Satan, Steiner are likened unto the Ahriman, the devil, or Antichrist, if you will, of Zoroastrianism. But you have Satan or Ahriman, and these are lower, very earthly 3D, just everything has to be facts and physical, and only if I can see, touch, smell it, taste it. Other than that, it doesn't exist or it's not real. And we got to fight, and we got to do all this, we got to live in fear, and we got to blah, 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 right? These are two ends of the spectrum. And he likened the Christ mind to being the meeting of the marriage of the two minds. Because we are both human and we are God or spirit. We are both man and we are both beast. We are both of those things. That is the chrysalis going on right now. And we're playing this human character. When we die, the VR headset comes back and we begin to realize, rub our eyes and shake our head and go, oh yeah, I was just living a human experience. And your consciousness goes on. Maybe you reincarnate, whatever. But the thing of it is that to live in this human life, you're going to experience all spectrum, sadness to happiness, fear to faith, love and hate, and everything in between. Now, the key in the occult mystic schools is the balance. I wear the Baphomet, which for years I used to believe, like a lot of Christians and superstitious, fearful people believe, that the Baphomet was a symbol of the devil. That's hilarious. No, it's not. The Baphomet simply symbolizes the balance of the middle, where you're not way up here so spiritual, I'm aloof and above it all, to, oh, it's all about facts and I'm an atheist and it's this, that, and the other. The Baphomet is a beautiful balance of the two. Now, again, you can use characters from any religious system to represent or to help you focus certain things, right? Sometimes I'm satanic. I am absolutely, Satan coming from the Aramaic word shaitan's adversary. I can be adversarial to my own fears, to my own stupid ways of used to thinking about certain things. I can be adversarial. I can also be enjoying being a human being satanic, like Anton LaVey, LaVeyan Satanism, which is not a Satanism based on an actual demon you worship. I don't believe in that shit anymore. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But these are archetypes. These are states of mind, of consciousness that you can enter into. But to enter one state, even Christ said, you can't serve two masters. Even Christ said that you can't put your hand to the plow and that ox or whatever pulling that plow, and you're plowing a field. I grew up on a farm, and then you turn around, your road's gonna be crooked, right? Oh, if you're driving a car, riding a bicycle, you're gonna wreck or whatever. You keep turning your head and looking backwards, right? So you set your intent. You don't worry about the old ways you used to think about your health, your money, your relationships, or whatever it is. And you start, this is my intent. And what happens is the reality will begin to set up the situations for you to make that thing better. And you don't have to force anything. You'll naturally do what you have to do. So I just wanted to plug these things and plug these books and explain that consciousness is the only reality. And if you want to get deeper and understand it a little bit more from a non-mystical point of view, here's reality transferring. Here's my big toe, Federico. I'll try to put a link to a video or something of him. These physicists are explaining that the mystical world, science and religion are actually coming together like they're supposed to be. And you begin to understand that life is consciousness. This is where these law of attraction, New Agers and stuff like that, law of assumption people are trying, even themselves, some of them stumble because they don't understand the bigger picture. The bigger picture, like Neville Goddard was teaching the law of assumption, or what you call law of attraction, or whatever, manifesting things. As he got older and started in his lectures and things, he began to teach more about the I amness. That you are I am the being, you are I am God, whatever you want to say, but you are consciousness. You're neutral, which means to be neutral awareness. Then you put on your VR headset. You come back to like meditating. My wife meditates regularly. You meditate, and it helps you get into your awareness, and you just notice the thoughts coming and going. It's like Zen meditation or any type of meditation, and you just notice the cars going down the highway. The minute you lock on, that red four-door, or that white van, or that motorcycle, or that 18-wheeler going down, now you're consciously aware of one thought to the exclusion of the other thoughts. Do you understand? This is a tent. This is the occult. This is magic. I'm just laying it out for you. And these men and people studying quantum physics and these nuclear physicists and stuff, they're understanding the nature of reality and what makes up matter is nothing but consciousness. It's basically vibrating light of consciousness. That's making up these electrons, protons, these subatomic particles that make atoms, and they're all the same thing. I mean, think about it. How do atoms know to end up becoming to be a certain way, to become molecules, to create helium, to create copper, to create nickel, to create trees and plants and animal flesh and fish and birds? That's all the same thing down at the bottom. Everything is made up of the exact same fucking building block, and that is consciousness. And when you begin to understand that, and you begin to live your life understanding that my reality is reflected outwardly because there is no separation. So the outside world is a mirror of you. Everyone is you, as Neville Goddard used to say, everyone is you pushed out, meaning that everyone else is sovereign. But your life, your universe, you are the center of your universe. What's his name? Copernicus. You are the center of your world. And from there, you get to decide how's your relationships going to go with your coworkers, with your boss, with your neighbor, with your spouse, with everyone. How is things going to work? I decide. I choose. Okay, I've always had bad luck in relationships. I've had bad luck with my health. I've always had bad luck with cars. I've always had bad luck with jobs. I have bad luck with money. Instead, change your say. No, everything always works out for me in my money. It's like Vadim Seelan says in his book. He has a saying, my universe takes care of me. You can always say everything is always working out for me. And you begin to make that decision. You begin to find out over time that your whole world, your everyday life is reflecting something within you. It's not to judge you, it's to reflect back. And so you don't, as Neville Goddard said, you don't try to change the appearance in the mirror if you don't like how your hair looks or something, right? You have to change the concept of yourself. You change the concept and say, no, I'm good with money. Money, I always have an abundance of money, always have more than enough. No, I have great health. No, my arthritis, I don't have arthritis. My body feels great. And then if there's anything you need to do to fix your situation naturally, don't worry about it. You'll be inspired to do it. Like I'm inspired to make videos sometimes, right? I don't know why. I have a small channel right now. I'm not trying to become YouTube famous. I just make videos and put them out there. And if somebody wants to watch it and they get something of it, great. But I just like to make the videos and get my thoughts out. If anything, it's like a video diary for me. Just different things I make videos about. Today, I'm making videos about these books written by quantum scientists, nuclear scientists, and I'm plugging Federico Fagan, the Italian-American physicist, who had the beam of light of love shoot out. We are all just consciousness. Now, there are people that have spiritual experiences, and then they come back into the 3D, like my wife will meditate, and then she comes back in the 3D and go back to living your human life. Hey, put on your 3D, your VR headset again, and play the Sims human video game again, but with understanding, with awareness, with consciousness. A lot of people talk about being awake, and they're awake to conspiracies out here and bullshit in the society, and they're awake to that. That's not true awakeness. You're awake to the mirror. Be awake to yourself. It's one thing, I make videos, I like to bitch and complain and point things out that are bullshit about government or something else, corporations, or something that's dumb or whatever. But I also know that everything is fine. Everything is all right. And we're all just the sun in different rays from that sun, fingers from the one hand, playing out characters. All the world is a stage, what Shakespeare said. So I don't want to go too long in this video. I just want to plug these two books right here. And I just want to introduce to you, this is what helped me get out of my religious, theological, and other belief systems I had. And now I don't see the world as anything that I have to fix. Instead, what I do is I see something I don't like. Now I find what I do like, and I focus on what I do like. Solutions. Identify the problem. Now, I like to make fun of problems and be sarcastic about it, things like that. But in the end, since I have become metaphysically awake and consciously awake and aware, I realize that I am eternal consciousness, and so is everyone else. I'm awareness. I can change, but through intention, I can change. And find out what you don't like helps you to find out what you do want. Even if it's just a general, you don't have to have all the details. Because your consciousness, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to look at, your oversoul, whatever you want to call it, different occult schools and mystic schools call it different things. It's that one eye, always being aware and watching what's going on. You are not the human self. You're not this human character that you're playing. Play your human character. But realize this human character didn't come here to be doomed or damned or to struggle or fight or figure anything out. You don't have to do any of that. You can use the no mind technique that some people talk about. And the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu talked about Wu Wei, effortless action. And I found in the mystic schools, magic schools, they teach this, having intent and focus. Well, science is proving that. You simply get to change. You know what? No, I always have good relationships. No, I'm always have an abundance of money. No, I have good health. No, I always get along with my neighbors in the neighborhood. Whatever, just choose that and allow that reality. And any negative thoughts that keep coming and going in your head, say, yeah, I'm not going to focus on those cars. I'm focusing on the one car. I'm going to become aware. But when you meditate, you don't have one car. You are absolutely neutral awareness. So if you just sit back, and we all do it, you can become neutrally aware and you just start noticing it. And you ever notice that you can see yourself thinking? You're not the thinker. You're the awareness watching the thinker, watching the human brain. I hope this video helps somebody, sparks an idea in somebody. Check out the description. I'll put some links, different things you can check out. Have a great life.